All day, every day.
There you are.
There you are. Yeah, we're good. I checked it. Okay.
Welcome,
Welcome,
people.
welcome. Welcome to the Tuesday live stream. By the way, if you are new to the community, please let us know that this is your first live stream. And just so you know, we do these every single Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific. We know for those of you guys in the UK and Australia, sometimes not the best time for you. But again, if you want to watch these trainings, just let us know that you want the replay, and we'll have someone from the team send it over to you once this is complete. With that said, so every Tuesday we do a web class here on different topics. Sometimes we bring out clients and students to talk about their experiences. Other times we do Q&A. So there's kind of a different run of the mill here every week. And today we really wanted to talk to you guys about relationships. Kind of an important topic, probably right up there with money for most people. But I think people often think of relationships as just your loving relationships, but of course we mean your colleagues, your friends, and even your interpersonal relationship between yourself. At the very least, we like to think of humans as relational beings. It's biological in nature for us to have people in our lives, have people around us. It has a lot to do with our upbringing and honestly how we've created safety and have been able to survive as well as we have. So there's a lot of really deep conversations to have about relationships. Also, look, your relationship to money or your relationship to health, like everything can kind of be seen, at least in this physical space, from this binary relationship of you and the other, you to the group, you to the world, you to yourself. These are all really, really important relationship type of things that we want to explore with you guys. So, first of all, hi and welcome. My name is Guy, and over there is my brother Elon. We are, he's very flowy today.
I'm so
Uh,
dancing.
we are the co-founders of Satori Prime. We've been a personal and spiritual development organization for almost 10 years now. Mind blowing every time I say that. And more recently, we've grown this group sizable, and we've called it the Old Souls and Seekers because, to be honest, those are the people that end up working with us, are people who have kind of been through the personal development ringer. You've read the books, you've watched the videos, you've done the courses, and you're probably kind of hitting this threshold in your growth. So we consistently explore how is it that people get to that threshold? What happens when they get to that threshold? What are the things they're probably experiencing as you come to that threshold? And really, like, what's beyond personal development that you can take the structures and the lessons that you learn in personal development and bridge it to something completely new that you may have not ever explored before. And that's really what's kind of happened in our lives about 5 years back. And it's been the most wonderful journey that we've had in our growth. So that's kind of what these conversations are about. Anything you want to add in here?
I have a question. So, I mean, we always kind of feel out what's happening in our field and like with the group and stuff like that. And relationships has just been something that's been coming through. And I think it's no wonder, obviously, like some of us will maybe see our family for the first time in months during this upcoming thing. And I think for some that brings in excitement. And even for those that it brings excitement, I think there's a bit of anxiety about like, oh shit, I got to sit around the dinner table with my dad or
These
my mom or
people.
be like, right. So
I forgot to mention that. That's a
yeah,
big deal right now. Yeah.
I'm curious because Guy, you mentioned the whole thing about the reading of the books. I'm curious, if you've been working on relationships, maybe it's a relationship with your kids, with your spouse, people at work, clients. Just out of curiosity, like how many books and or videos and or seminars have you watched, attended in hopes of getting better at relationships? Just type a number. You could say like books, X, whatever, because it's just really interesting to note. And I will say this before, because I know that we sometimes go on these riffs, and I just want to honor whatever work you've done already that has you be in this group.
Yeah.
This group isn't for first time personal development people. So I know, and I know that we both know that we're speaking to people who have committed themselves to this path, who have done a bunch of work. You've watched a bunch of videos, you've read a lot of books. So whatever you hear here today, I don't want you in any way, shape, or form to hear it as a knock on any of the work that you've already done. It's an amazing foundation. And it's the only way that we can even start to have these kind of conversations that we're going to have here today. So I just want to honor you and where you're at.
Very good point.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just pinning it so people can find it.
Yeah, cool.
Okay, cool. So let's dive in. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I think interpersonal stuff for me and Elon is something that I think we thrive in. We love sharing with you guys what's going on in our lives. We'll kind of tell you what we have found, right? So just so you guys who have been in the ring of this personal development game for a long time, and if you have, I mean, please let us know. Like, yeah, I've been at this for 5 years. I've been at this for 10 years. I keep reading the books, and if there's something that you are bumping up against, and this is what we really mean by that, because what we have found with personal development is like it certainly makes you more aware, without a doubt, right? Most of you guys are probably performing better in your life. There's a lot to do with performance, success. I think most people come in to personal development. Maybe you're an entrepreneur and you wanted to perform better in your business, stuff like this. And then you kind of find yourself in these loops. You might find yourself in a period of like well-being and things are kind of flowing. And then you kind of find yourself back in this place you've been before. And maybe when you get there, you think to yourself, aren't I better than this? Like, haven't I already done this work? Like, why am I finding myself back here? And that's kind of the loop we were finding ourselves in. Like, we had done, 15 years of personal development, over $1 million invested in experiences, shamanic work, energy work, breath work, like all these different things. And we're like, how is it that we got to keep coming back to an originating incident about something that happened with our parents when we were 2, 3 years old, and rethinking about what happened there, changing the paradigm, changing the story, like managing all that. And I think that's really what we have found, is that over time, all these books, they certainly make you aware, but what they make you aware of is that you have this system, it works a specific way. And now, because you know how it works, you can manage it better. But you find yourself in this endless cycle of management. And then, of course, when it comes to your relationships, you'll find yourself in these like patterns you really don't want to see yourself in. So what I really want to introduce is the kind of work that we do here, and then how we adapt that or adopt that to help people not understand self-worth, right? Because you hear a lot about self-worth these days, not necessarily understand how to create safety, but actually have a direct experience with it, which is really, really different. Because I would even offer to say that the things that you have learned in personal development, in courses that you've taken, there was something that was beyond mind. It wasn't like, okay, now I got this process and I had to change everything. You actually had like a visceral experience, right? Like maybe you felt a huge energetic release, or you actually felt something intuitively inside that shifted. And those are probably the processes that have kind of stuck with you and have really made a difference over the long run, and where you have seen the most headway or changes or shifts in your life. So what we want to look at is like, well, how do we replicate that process? Not how do we give you, another 5 steps. Here's how you go talk to your husband. Here's how you go talk to your wife. Here's how you go talk to your colleague or your business relationship. But like, how do we actually start working with the system itself? So I'll give you guys like an example from my own life, because it's ironic to say this, but right now I'm in the most amount of energetic processes that I've ever been in my life. Elon and I are part of this really amazing mystery school. It's a kind of like a school with energetics. So if like the idea of a mystery school is foreign to you, it's basically schools that take from a lot of the ancient spiritual learnings and they bring them down into like a holistic lesson. So, this could adopt from like the things you would learn as a lama at the top of a mountain to Reiki and energy work and really like everything in between. And how do you like bridge all these things to create internal healing for yourself and then healing for others? We're also working with a really powerful channel right now. Lots of different practices. I won't get into it now, but here's what we find. When we do energetic work, different than thinking about it, here's the kind of diagram I want to give you guys. Most of you guys are trying to manage what's happening up here. But the reality is, when you're facing a circumstance that's uncomfortable, when you're dealing with anxiety or stress or overwhelm in your relationships or with your health or whatever it might be, the first thing that you're going to note is that there's actually some kind of sensation in your body. Okay, like a subtle, sometimes it's a subtle sensation, sometimes it's a really big sensation. Obviously, if you have a headache, that's going to be very visceral. You're going to notice it quickly. But there are things happening all the time. And if you really kind of just tune in, if you're, I know most of us are not in an office right now or around a lot of people, but if you can remember back that far, you'll remember a time where you like walked into a space or a room or an office, maybe it was like a networking thing, and like something inside just didn't feel quite good, right? Like you start getting this anxiety and then you start managing it through the mind. So this is the kind of stuff we're talking about. There is this like innate feedback system that's constantly giving you this like subtle energy vibe. And then when there's anxiety or overwhelm or stress, the mind is actually checking in on it, and it's got some kind of protocol, some kind of safety protocol that it's going to run, and it's going to be this automated process. So, something I have found in my life is that I often deal with like annoyance. I'm quick to anger, things like this. And I was always trying to figure out like, how am I going to stop these processes from happening? And then suddenly, what's like kind of new for me, and bro, you can speak to this too, is what I have found as I continue to do energetic work is that suddenly I'm able to hold like two ideas at one time. So if you guys think about how people battle politically, or how they, I'm just trying to think about how to present this best. You know, hmm, sorry, bro. Broski, can you hear me? You can?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So if you guys think about how you can like hold two ideas at one time, most people are not able to do this. But in an energetic way, like before when I was angry, I never had this experience of holding love at the same time. It was just like judging myself consistently, trying to figure out how I'm going to change that. But Broski, I'm sorry, man. Can you just take over for a second?
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry about that. I think I'm having some issues over here.
Oh, good.
Just take over if you don't mind.
I just don't know where you were going with that.
Okay, so just pick up on something from your life. My apologies.
Okay. Um, so here's what I wanted to share with you guys. Like, I think for me, relationships are, there's two ways to look at relationships. One is a relationship is going to really upset you, right? Like there's so many people in our lives, like, and it's interesting to me that the people that love us most are the ones that push the most buttons. So your intimate relationships, whether you're boyfriend, girlfriend, whether you're married, your family, your brothers, sisters, and your kids, I would say are the relationships that really, really, like, they just know each button to push. And I think when we do a lot of this research, and I think when we start like reading all of these books, check into seeing, like, let me know if this is how you end up reading these books. You read something and you go, oh my God, that's exactly how they are. That's exactly what they're doing to me. And all you want to do is like give them the book and be like, read this. You got to work on this. Right. Or you'll like read a line and you'll read it to them. You'll be like, oh my God, this is exactly what's happening. So I find that when we do that, it's like you're doing that because it's not just the book, it's the way that the mind perceives relationships. We see others, like it's so much easier, you notice, to see things in others than it is to see in ourselves. So when we see the relationship, typically the mind is looking for how the other person isn't living up to your expectation. They're not doing what you want them to do. They're not saying what you want them to say, acting how you want them to act, etc. And inside here, you are very uncomfortable and very unwell because your reality isn't matching what you want it to be. And so we even do all these seminars and we read all these books, all with the intention of like trying to fix the relationship, but in reality, we're like trying to fix the other person. And it doesn't work. And I've learned long ago that if you have any delusion that they need to be doing anything in order for your relationship to be better, you're screwed. I mean, like, even if you think that they need to do like, you're like, I will do almost everything, but just give me this. Just give me this. And it's just give me this, that little thing that you're expecting them, that's what creates all the drama and upset in your life. So I want to flip the script because many of us are going to be spending time with our family.
Mm-hmm.
And when we spend time, Guy and I said this all the time, like, you want to know how spiritually you've come, like how far you've come on your spiritual path, go live with your parents for a week. Because all the old stuff is there, right? Like all the old stories, all the old paradigms, everything is there. And so it all comes up. Now you're going to go home, you're going to go visit whatever you are, you're going to be around these people this weekend, and stuff's going to come up. And one of two things are going to happen. Your mind is either going to make them wrong, as it has done for decades. She's always nagging me. She's always telling me that I don't look good. She always makes fun of the things that I dress or how I eat or that my boyfriend's this or just constant, right? Or because you like, let's be honest, we all know how that's going to go, right? You're going to have a miserable time. You're going to basically try to like hunker down and survive this family meeting, or you could do something else. And this is where we have really shifted both our personal work and our work with our clients. So the first thing I want to share is it doesn't take two to tango. I'm going to say that again. It does not take two to tango. You don't need the other person to be involved in your transformation whatsoever. In fact, I'll say even farther, like you can do all the work on their behalf and they will actually shift when you do the work. It goes to that level. So how do we do that, right? Like, so we can look at it the way that I described, or you can look at it this way. And this, by the way, it's any relationship you have across the board. No one out there is doing anything to you. Okay? No one out there is doing anything to you. So we talk about this in a few different forms, right? There's like level one is like everything is being done to me, right? Like that's like the way of the world. Okay. Level two, where most of you, I would assert, is things are happening for me, right? It's like no one's doing it to me. Things are happening for me. So you can kind of like, once you do that, it's like, okay, I can be a little bit more responsible for how I show up, how things are showing up in my environment. Like I'm the creator of it all, etc. That's a great place to be. Mm-hmm. And doesn't quite get you to where you're at, right? Like you guys wouldn't be here listening to two brothers talk about this stuff if you already had the answers and the relationships that you want. So that's not getting you there. It's getting you away, like a piece of the way there, but not all the way there. So what's that final place? The final place is things are happening through you. So if you can imagine that I'm going to go like real esoteric here for a second, but imagine that there is no reality. There's just you in this world projecting out into the world. And then the world as a mirror keeps projecting back to you. Because if you wanted to see the back of your head, I don't care how you're going to contort yourself and what you're going to do, you cannot see the back of your head, right? You can't see that thing. So how can we? Through mirrors, right? Like you get a mirror here, you get a mirror here, all of a sudden you can see the back of your head. So the world and the relationships that you have act as mirrors. And those mirrors are here to show us the parts of us inside that we don't yet fully love and accept. when we do work here, like love, we talk about all the time. Love is the greatest, I hate to say weapon, like I need to come up with a better word. Like it's the greatest healing energy that we have access to. It can,
Let's call it a source.
yeah, it's just, it is from source and it brings everything into source. So it's like, if you can bring love into the parts of you that you don't want to love, like you read these books with a deep down desire, like at some level, you're like, oh my God, if I could just get rid of this one part of me, like the part that gets really annoyed when my mom does this, or the part that gets really short tempered, like you try to figure out ways to overcome it. And yet here we are. And what I can tell you is that overcoming it will never work. Love will. And so when someone does something over the next few days, here's my invitation. Don't focus on them or out there. See that a mirror is reflecting something and pause for a moment and go, what inside of me right now is being triggered? Is it, I'm not heard? Is it, no one pays attention to me? Is it, I feel worthless? Is it, I'm not smart enough? Is it, fill in the blank? You know what yours is, right? It's not rocket science. It's been around for decades. This is not revolutionary thinking for you. So it's in there. But every time that thing gets triggered, here's the way that humans have operated. We try to make our environment stop triggering the inside. We start to move people, things, all that stuff, and it never works. Even if it works, it's so temporary, and you're like, oh my God, I did it. And then a day later, you're like, fuck. Because there's no amount of doing and shifting and manipulating and all of it that will ever make that part inside feel okay. For good. I mean, not like temporarily you can do that, but not for good. And what we focus on here and everything that we teach, it doesn't matter what program you come in and work with us on, like that's what we're looking at. How do you start to heal through love these parts of you that you have wanted to overcome, get rid of, remove, all of it? And if that hasn't worked for you, I'm telling you, like right now, you're about to go into spiritual magnifying glass to the nth degree opportunity. You can use these opportunities to really dive in and go, wow, I feel like no one listens to me. And then you can actually sit there and go, wow, I feel that quite a lot. Like that's not a mom thing. I noticed that with my boss. I noticed that with my kids. I noticed that with my spouse. I noticed that with my friends. Wow, that does quite happen a lot. And I'm telling you, it doesn't matter how much mindset work you're going to do to figure out when it happened, why it happened, who it happened with, all of it. It's not going to make a fucking lick of a difference. You're going to have like cool things to share with people like, oh my God, look what I figured out. But you're still going to have that same reaction. What we're talking about here is the ability to heal these parts. And relationships to me have become gold. Gold. Like my 7.5-year-old daughter is the most ninja person in my life. Like she knows how to get in there and go, and I'm like, every time. And I'll work through something and she'll acknowledge it in some way and I'll get more lovey from her and like, and then she just moves on to the next thing. I'm like, can we just like pause and like relish in the fact that Abba just figured out this huge part of himself. And now she's like, no, we're moving. Moving on to the next thing.
We're in a marathon, buddy. We're in a marathon.
like to me, there's so much beauty in relationships if you stop trying to fix and mess with the outside world of the relationship and turn it all inside. So that's like, if I can wish anything for you guys on this Thanksgiving, for those that celebrate, right? Like, and those that will be with families. I don't know if you guys have our meditations, or, if you don't, you should definitely try those meditations. I think someone posted on here, they did it once and it was like life-changing. And we hear that quite a bit.
You'll also
But
learn fun new ways to communicate with
yeah,
us.
we're still learning on the English thing. It's just it's a second language, so I have an
It's
excuse.
technically third, really.
But like, as you're there, instead of having that explosiveness or the reaction or all that stuff, or even if you have the reaction, but you find yourself in your room and you're like, that wasn't great. Didn't love the way I just yelled at mom or dad or walked out and slammed the plate against the wall. That wasn't great, Like, sit in your room and do this meditation, and you'll actually be able to, because that part is so activated, you'll actually be able to go and heal it. So yeah, that's what I wanted to offer you guys today.
Yeah, and I want to give you guys an example, like a very light example of what that might look like, because I think what I really want to highlight from what Elon said here is that mostly, again, I was trying to point to it before, maybe not very well, is like there's this management of the outside world that we're trying to take care of all the time. But if everything is a mirror, here you are in this physical space, here it is over there, there's this metaphysical response to everything we do in the physical world. And if you guys haven't noticed, it's kind of always the opposite of what we want, right? Like, you really intend to have one thing and then something else, the exact opposite of that shows up in your life. Now, we actually have a reason for that. There's this universal law that I don't want to get into, but I do want to give you an example of emotional intelligence, because this is a terminology that we hear more and more. And from the landscape of personal development, it makes it sound like we need to understand our emotions. How do I be with my emotions? Like, this is some kind of thought that you're going to be with. But for those of you guys who are human, like me or Elon, and you've had an intense emotion, I don't care how much spirituality you've done or how much personal development you've done, it is gonna overtake you. Okay, it's gonna run this automatic program. So in a moment like that, how's that going to go? And I want to give you guys like, be super vulnerable with you here. When we started, I had an idea of what I wanted to say, and in the middle of that, before, when I asked Elon to speak, I was actually having a bit of a panic attack in my system, because I like lost my way, and I didn't really know where I wanted to bring you. And that's not often something that happens to me, but it brought up like mass anxiety in my system. I actually started sweating because of that. So I was like, Elon, take over, because and not in the most delightful way there, because I was like, "Ew, you take it," which has happened to me a few times. Yeah, what?
Hot potato.
Hot potato. Yeah, like, you take this. Not common for me, but that has happened now a few times. It's like almost like a mild panic attack in the middle of speaking. So I'm telling you, like, something just overtook my system. Great example for this time, because right now I actually feel super grounded, which is very interesting to go from that to that. So how did that happen? And I think that's kind of what I want to point to you guys. So I want to do a little demo for you guys, and you guys can play along. So it's like, do a demo on yourself, because there's no learning like your personal experience, and no one can see you at home, so it doesn't matter unless someone's in the room with you, and even then, have them play along. So if you don't mind, just put up your right hand like this, your right or your left hand, doesn't matter. I'm putting this one up. And then, instead of using your mind to be aware of your right hand, just put your awareness on your right hand. So, like, don't look at it, basically, but just put your awareness on your right hand. Okay, and then we're just going to leave it there for like 5 or 10 seconds. And usually at this point is when I ask, so what do you notice about your right hand that you may have not noticed just a few moments before? And people will say things like, well, I feel more heat, or different sensations. And that's kind of the summary of what I've been looking for, is like, you just feel increased sensation. So if you're just starting to do this, you're like, that's interesting. Okay, yeah, I do feel something. And then how many of you guys who are doing this right now can say that you actually can feel a palpable difference in the sensation in your hand? So again, maybe it feels like warmth or vibration, might feel like cooling, might even feel like moisture. For some of you guys, it's just going to feel numb. Like, numbness is actually a sensation. And oftentimes people miss these exercises because they think, I don't feel anything. Not feeling anything is the sign of feeling something. And what you're feeling is numbness, right? So just put that in there. So if you guys can get with this, and what Elon kind of pointed to is that there's a response in the system. It's what I was trying to point to also. You're having a response in the system that your mind, no matter how much you learn, is not going to get fast enough at stopping that response from happening. Like I couldn't have stopped that little panic attack that I was just happening. It just kind of occurred in the space. I'm not really sure why. Something overwhelmed me. It is what it is, right? So this this awareness that you just put on your hand is what we call the beginning of subtle sensory awareness. And what's actually happening at the biophysical level is you're putting your awareness here on your hand, which is actually moving energy towards your hand. You guys have all heard the line, where your attention goes, energy flows. That's a real thing. So where you put your awareness, that's where energy actually flows. And then what ends up happening is blood flow, like a magnet, moves towards the chi, towards the energy in your hand. So welcome to 101. You're now aware of subtle energy, right? And this is similar to the first time you've done personal development, where a person told you you're not the thoughts in your head, you're the one listening. And there's a big insight in there, and we call that actually becoming aware of subtle mind, or becoming aware of ordinary mind awareness. So this is the same thing, like becoming aware of ordinary mind, but in this situation, it's becoming aware of the energetics in the system. So let's say that you're there with mom, with dad, with the spouse, the husband, whatever, and there's some kind of response. If you actually use the same awareness and you track down the center part of your body, you're going to notice that somewhere here, whether in your stomach, in your chest, or in your head, there's going to be like an increased amount of sensation. And what's really important about learning this awareness is that you actually learn how to stay in the body, yeah, and particularly with the sensation, in full and unconditional presence. So there's actually like a way to view, which we're not going to get into here, but there's a view that you take in your system. And if you guys think about this, this is not such a foreign idea, because if you have children at home, you've dealt with children, I'm assuming you were a child at some point in your life, you can imagine that when you were dealing with some kind of upset and you ran over to mom and dad crying and upset and all that stuff, you didn't just want mom and dad's presence, you wanted a certain level of attunement. You wanted them to be present with you in a very particular way. And the irony is that as we become adults, it's not like this level of presence actually changes. We actually want that same attunement all the time. But our expectations as children was that the parents give us the attunement. And when you're a child, you're right to believe that and have that. But most of us didn't. Probably none of us had that level of attunement, right? Like my brother and I had parents that were really, really there, but they were energetically completely misattuned. So what we get to learn in order to work these parts, in order to calm our systems down, in order to stop projecting our stuff onto our family, because that's what happens when these parts get activated. We just automatically like start projecting our reality on these people, and then we start dealing with our spouse like we're dealing with our parents. So instead of that, we want to actually learn how do you actually attune to your own nervous system? How do you actually attune to your own energetics, such that when you're dealing with the stress and the overwhelm and the anxiety, when you're dealing with a case in your family that might be difficult, you actually learn how to bring the awareness to this part. And then just like a child who's actually getting attuned presence from their parents, the child is going to calm down. That is going to relax the nervous system. It's going to bring them back to a grounded state. And this is just as true for an adult as it is for a child. We can actually teach ourselves internally how to ground the system, downregulate the nervous system, bring it back to a rest and digest state. And here's what the beautiful part is. As we do this, energy that's been bound up in your system, because what you're feeling is the collapse in the system where the energy actually is not moving. And as it relaxes, it's like opening a hand, like nothing is going to move through a fist. But when we relax, just like relaxing a hand, it moves like this and the energy can flow through. And when that happens, the mind relaxes as well, because there's no longer the sensation in the body to respond to. And over time, as you continue to practice over and over again, the mind will actually be like, okay, there's nothing to protect from anymore. So it stops running the program altogether. And this is the beautiful part, because things like that people really want to work on, right? Like we have found in our work, tens of thousands of people coached, that self-worth is the number one thing that people pretty much deal with, right? And underneath all this, like layering of all these things people want, money, relationships, is really just a foundation of feeling safe. And that's a really important thing. It's like, how do we recreate the system for people that they just feel safe and that everything they respond to in this world, when they want to create their business, when they want the dream relationship, when they want the money, that the actions that they're taking are sourced from a place of safety. And what's really beautiful about this kind of work is that we don't need to focus on self-worth and we don't need to focus on safety. If you just learn how to use the awareness in the way that I described, and of course there's nuance here, and this is what we teach in our classes, this is what we teach in our group work, is like the nuance of how to actually view the system in a way that actually helps itself heal. How to actually use the divine intelligence of your body that has been evolved over millions of years to actually let the body heal itself without you having to invest a lot of time or energy in doing that at all. Because honestly, your mind has no idea how to heal your body. Your mind cannot possibly conceive of the trillions of neuronal connections in there, how the fascia works. It can't do that. However, has this own smart body intelligence, this divinely guided intelligence, the same intelligence that makes sure that if you have a cut finger, that it's going to get taken care of. If you break a bone, it's going to put it back together the right way. You're not doing that, right? Like there's an energy behind that. So if you learn how to leverage that energy, you'll find that self-worth, safety, all these things are really just a byproduct of doing that inner work. And then you're going to find that things massively change, because if you're in a situation like I was just in, that was very uncomfortable in my system, instead of getting stuck in that situation for a long period of time, you actually create a fluid system. The energy can move down through the system very quickly, and you can find this ground again. And lo and behold, come and continue to speak to you guys, hopefully in a minor or major eloquent way over here.
Yeah. So that's like what I love about that is I know this might sound different and complex or complicated. Okay. I can assure you, we've taken many people through this process. This is honestly the simplest work. If you go onto the Facebook group, I don't actually know if it's there or people are posting in the advanced group. I'm not actually sure. So don't quote me on this exactly, but like
there's some cross-pollination there.
Yeah, if you can watch or like read people's testimonials that they like type or thing, one of the things that we hear over and over and over again when I ask people, like how much effort did it take for you to have this breakthrough with your loved ones? And the result is always like, it was effortless. Like I didn't do anything. And here's the biggest difference. When you read these books, even if you work with a coach or go to the seminars, they give you a lot of information, right? And then you'll be in that circumstance with that person, for example, and then you almost have to like stop and you have this like recall function where you're like, okay,
step one.
Yeah, like what was step one? Okay, okay, then I have to ask them this, then I have to do that, right? Like, and you have all this recall function that needs to happen in the heat of the moment when you're hijacked. You're not even there. And so as good as that information might be, it becomes very, very difficult to recall when you need it most. The biggest shift that we've experienced over the last few years as we've been doing this is imagine you are in an environment and everyone tells us the same story. I went to dinner with my parents. This just happened after someone attended our 2-day. Like they went to dinner with their parents and they were like, it was the best time I ever remember being with my parents. We didn't argue, we didn't fight. I didn't get triggered, anything like that. And I said to her, I was like, and how hard was it? And she goes, I didn't do anything. I was like, yeah, I know. She goes, it was incredible. And because what you realize is like what we're actually working on is healing and releasing once and for all, not understanding how it got there, when it got there, why it got there, who was there to put it there. Cool information, irrelevant. What if the thing was no longer there? Period, end of story. And this is what everyone says. I'm in this interaction expecting to get triggered because your mind is like waiting for the body to have its normal response. And nothing happens.
Yep.
Nothing. Not like a little of something, Not I have time till the response. I mean, nothing.
The sensation doesn't come.
It just never comes. And the mind literally sits there and goes, wait, like, no?
Yeah. We're not going to do that thing right now?
Yeah, like it's like waiting. It's like, no, no, you're not going to do that? Interesting. And you sit there and you're just in awe. You're like, holy crap.
Yeah.
I've never had that experience ever.
Mm.
And then like, that's the moment where you really get the power of this work. Because once you heal that part and that layer, there's going to be another layer. And then you're going to heal that layer and that layer and that layer. And I'm not saying you get to a place where you walk through life like this enlightened Zen, master, where you're just like, nothing impact. Like, no, you're still human, right? But every time something triggers you, instead of being like, fuck my life and like, these people, you're just like, cool, another thing for me to heal. Thank you, Mom, for showing me this amazing part of myself that I didn't even see. Thanks, Dad, for showing me this part of me that's been feeling stupid since I was 4. Amazing. Now I get to heal and work on that part. And you could start to see how our relationships become the most valuable thing for your transformation.
Yeah.
Like the world of sitting on top of the Himalayas and meditating for 20 years and doing that work, like, as cool as that might be, that's not a reality. Like, I don't have to tell you 2020, like, welcome,
Enough
right?
said.
Set. Like, this is the reality. So do you want tools that provide you well-being and safety and peace and fulfillment and joy and love now, like in this environment? Or do you want to just keep working hard and reaching for those things that honestly have been regurgitated for the last, I don't know, 50, 60 years? And here's the call. Like, if that stuff hasn't been producing the results that you want, again, not a knock on any of it or any of the effort and time and money that you spent in learning that. Guy and I spent over 12 years in that world every day, coaching, training, getting mentored. Like, I love that stuff. And it has its limitations. That's all I'm saying. And reaching for another book or watching another video or doing any of that stuff to understand more, if it hasn't produced the results thus far, chances are you're not going to find this magical book that you've been searching all this time that's going to make this all heal. It's just not, because this is who is doing that work. And this cannot heal this. And this is going to have a reaction no matter how much this understands about what's happening in here. So the invitation is like, come play and start to work on how to heal these things. And that's what we want to invite you to. Bro, do you want to
I want to do two things. I want to tell them what it is
yeah,
that we're doing for the holidays, and then I want to take the questions because there's a few good questions in here that I think would be very valuable to go over. So,
let's
guys,
let's do the offer, because I think it's super cool. We've never done anything like this
yeah.
before. And then we
So,
can answer those questions.
guys, stick around here for like 2 minutes. We'll tell you what it is that we're doing, and then you guys have asked some really great questions, so we'll absolutely explore those with you.
All good. Yes, they do.
Yeah, so look, guys, in short, what we do here is pretty low resistance in terms of wanting to work with us. Every 6 weeks or so, Elon and I do an intensive 2-day event. And the purpose of that event is to give you access to a new state of awareness that I would offer 99.99% of the planet right now is not operating from. It is pretty much as simple as the demo I gave with the hand. And of course, like anything else, there's nuance. Now, I'll tell you what's nuanced here. Elon has been talking a lot about mirroring here. Elon and I have done this kind of work now for 5 years. And when I say 5 years, it doesn't mean we went to Bali and did an intensive and came back. It means week in and week out for 5 years, plus many hours of practice every day to raise a certain type of energetic awareness within the body. This is a subtle awareness that actually becomes an opening to what's called like awake awareness and simultaneous awareness. And with it, a lot of very interesting things happen. So I'm going to tell you one of the things that has come with these gifts, and some energetic healers certainly can do this too, is the ability to sense your own energetic system to such a degree that you know what's yours and you know what's not yours. So how many of you guys on here would consider yourselves like highly empathetic? Like I am. I'm a very sensitive person. Could be what just happened to my system as we got this going. And I get surges of energy in my system. And I used to always get caught in the swirl and end up processing for a lot of people. So it doesn't matter whether you're empathetic or not in that way, but you have some kind of sensitivity. What's amazing about what we work with people is we actually work with them directly in the energetic space. So when you're in a process, we don't take you to the originating incident and we start wondering, why did this happen to you or anything like that. Elon and I can actually feel into your nervous system. That might sound weird, but I'm telling you, this is science fact, science fiction. And we can actually feel what's going on in your energetic systems to the point where we can point at it to your mind, to your awareness while it's happening. And it is this pointing that Elon and I do that allows for you to realize within your own personal experience that you have this innate awareness within you that allows you to view your system in this particular way that literally makes healing happen, that encourages healing to happen, okay, through this divine intelligence, this smart body that you already have. And so this is what we do at these 2-day events. We go from simply describing what this experience might be like to actually working directly with you. And here's the beautiful part is once it's activated, it's activated. So we call this our intuitive mind 2-day intensive, and that's what we do here. Here's what we could tell you. We've run about 3 of these intensives now. So I would say close to 200 people have gone through this program. And the offer that we make is, hey, if this sounds interesting to you, you're ready for this next step in your personal development. You've hit those walls. You've read the books and they all kind of sound the same. You already know that it's mostly rehashed stuff that was formulated, 70 to 100 years ago. It's worked for you, but you're like, there's got to be something else. We're offering that this is that something else, because that was the inquiry we're at. And if this event doesn't like knock your socks off, you don't walk away from here going like, holy shit, I had no idea that my body could do this, that I could do this. We want you to get your money back. Now, we also want to let you know we've made that offer to about 200 participants and zero have taken us up on it. And it's for the reason that we know that if you come to this event, you're going to have an absolute extraordinary experience. Okay. So generally speaking, we sell these event tickets between $400 and $600. Before the holidays, we wanted to do something special for you guys. So if you go to, let me grab this link on the screen. If you go to the link that's on your screen right now, that's satoriprime.com/BOGO. If you don't know, BOGO means buy one, get one. What we've done is we've made a special holiday offer that is going to expire at midnight this week. And for $444, you can actually claim 2 tickets. So it'd be
it's Sunday midnight.
Sunday at midnight, yeah. Didn't come through?
You said midnight this week.
I'll get there, guys. I'll get there. I'm churning. The coffee's kicking in. Yeah, so Sunday at midnight, like Elon said, you can come and you can get a ticket for $444, and that will actually get you 2 event tickets. Okay, so that'll be 1 ticket for you, and then 1 ticket for anybody in your life. That could be a spouse, a colleague, a brother or sister, a friend. We don't care, but somebody who's been in this space too. You want to have this experience together. You want to get them a nice holiday gift that would be kind of, a strange but pretty awesome experience. That's the offer. So satoriprime.com. Go ahead.
Yeah, satoriprime.com. BOGO. I was going to say it's always beautiful to do this experience with someone, just because a lot of the practices that we do, we offer like duo practices. So it's like one-on-one type of practices, and having someone in your life that you can do these practices with ongoingly will make the most profound difference for you. So, when we were talking about like buy one, get one, I almost feels like buy one, give one. Obviously, we're going through the holiday, and it's just like an amazing gift that you can share an incredible experience with someone. So, we'll leave it at that. If you have any questions, right, you want to find out more about the event, just let us know in the comment box below. Like, I'd like to find out more. If you're ready to go, just go grab it before Sunday. If you have any questions, just let us know here. We have a bunch of our coaches who will be looking for your comments, and if you have questions, they're happy to communicate with you through Facebook Messenger, and even if need be, just book a quick call to give you all the information that you need.
Yeah, so let's look at the few questions. We'll leave that up there so you guys have the link. So there's a few here. Let me see. I got to scroll back quite a ways
By the
now.
way, we have 10 minutes.
Yes, I get that. Cool. So we'll do two things. Somebody asked about. I can't find another so many messages in here. They muscle tested something, and that was interesting. I can't find that one.
There was a fight or flight that you wanted to contact.
Yeah. All right, so here we go. Let's go to the fight or flight because I can't find that other one. Yeah, so somebody asked, are you eliminating the fight or flight response? Is that what you're saying? I think that would be foolish to eliminate the fight or flight response. I think it would be foolish to eliminate really any response that we have, right? And this is what we kind of need to, or we get to transcend as human beings, is that we have created this thing called morality, right? And there's this line we tread between what's good and what's bad. And this, we can get into some of the biology of why humans on our planet actually believe in good and bad, but it's not really important. From a moral point of view, we can always say, here's the line, on this side is good and on this side is bad. But the reality is, it has taken us millions, perhaps tens of millions of years to evolve the way that we have. And so we want to kind of come to face with that there is an evolutionary process that, again, is kind of intelligently been guided, and that everything that a human is a necessary part of being human, right? Like, if you want to become whole again, if you want to do this work that we're talking about here and actually raise this being of awareness within you, you got to you're not going to take any class and say, hey, look, I really like this 90% chunk of myself, but this other 10%, it gets to go over here, and I got to figure out how to eliminate it and just make this 90% good. That's never going to happen. In fact, as you do that, you're going to encourage the 10% that you don't want to show up that much stronger in your life, right? Like, people think it's like, if I fight against it, it's going to go away. But in fact, you're actually unconsciously giving that thing more energy. And that frequency is actually going to have situations in your life arise that you have to face that thing more often. Now, how many of you guys have tried to avoid something in your life or make it go away just to notice that it comes back with even more ferocity? There's a reason for that. There's an actual universal law that creates that in your life. And again, we go into this during the 2-day events about why people create these vibration and frequencies. But at its base core, you guys got to get that we are like a tuning fork. We are actually like an instrument, and the vibration that instrument is playing has the holographic reality experience arise in coherence to that vibration. So when we try to manipulate things out here with our mind and change physical reality, that does nothing because the vibration doesn't change. When we directly go into the system, we let the energy move, and the vibration of the body actually changes and gets more coherent with its alignment. You're going to start noticing that reality just shifts around you. You don't actually have to do anything. That's why Elon was pointing out certain experiences that people have with their parents. They don't do anything. It's just that their vibration changed, so their parents are no longer responding to the old vibration, so such that they just start responding different. So we're not eliminating fight or flight. What we do notice as people continue to do this work is that they sit in significantly prolonged windows of well-being, connection, love, and safety. Like, we can guarantee that that's going to be a process for you. Now, again, I want to point to you guys that the actions that you're taking in your life really don't matter as much as the energy that's sourcing them. So if you keep sourcing actions in your life from the same place, and most people are sourcing actions from a fight or flight response, a fight, flight, or freeze response, and that's the energy begets energy, usually just create more reasons to have a fight or flight response. And so it becomes this kind of tumultuous energetic cycle, right? So what we want to look at is, how do we actually help the body move the energy that has been stagnated and stuck in the system, and create more energetic fluidity in the system, such that when you are in a fight or flight response, the energy has a place to go, and you can actually bring your system back to a grounded, safe, connected state, and then start acting from there again, not acting from the fight or flight response.
The only thing that I want to add to that is, we touched on it, and I just want to highlight this. I cannot tell you how many times people have shared with us experiences where they've worked on healing certain parts of themselves. Now, what I'm going to say, the words might not make sense to you, but there are things that are passed down through our lineage,
Yes.
right? So it's just like part of your familial history. And your dad did it that way, and his dad, and so on and so forth. And it just gets passed down to us. And now you start to heal that part of you. What we have noticed and what we have started to see and quantify both in our own lives and in our clients' lives is that when you do this work, it actually starts to impact your loved ones. So that same way that you now have healed this reaction part of you is actually, that healing gets passed down to your parents, to your children, to your partners, etc. And I cannot tell you how many times we've had people share with us like, wow, they completely stopped doing that.
Yeah.
So I want to offer you my take on it. I don't know that this is the truth, but like, this is how I've kind of seen it, is when you heal these things, right? I started this conversation by saying that everyone around you is a mirror. Have you noticed that life keeps showing you the same things over and over? Like, this person is showing it to you, and this person is showing it to you, and it's like everywhere, right? That's because the universe or God or whatever you want to call it is trying to point to something that is ready to be healed, ready to be let go. When you let that thing go, the incredible thing that happens is your outside world no longer needs to reflect that back to you because it's no longer inside of you. You've already done that work. And the reflection stops. They stop doing those things that they were always doing when you do the healing. They'll start reflecting other things to you, but at this point, you'll be so freaking excited because you're like, oh my God, I can't believe this is working, that you'll be like, show me more, show me more, show me more. And so that's the beauty of it. It's like, yes, I tell people all the time, like, you're doing this for you, and you're doing this for so much more than you. Like, as much as you want to make this about you, great. And it's so much bigger than you. And that's what I really, 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 really love. So yeah, for whoever wrote, I want to stop the repetition. It's like, right, like, you've read books and you've understood why you get into these cyclical patterns. But that's where they get you, and that's where it kind of takes you, and that's where it stops. Like, the only way off that hamster wheel is to go within. And you've read this in so many books, like the only way out is in, right? Like the only way out is through. That's it. You know, like, that's what we are finding, and we're giving people those experiences. And if you want to have those experiences, I cannot highly urge you enough to get at least into one of these 2-day events. Like, honestly, it's like the most, we make it the easiest thing to attend. It's so crazy cheap for what the experience is. But we do it because we know, like, this is how we build trust with you. You know, like, we have other programs on offer that are much more expensive, but like, you're going to go through this, you're going to have your mind blown so wide, you're going to be like, take my money, just keep working with me. Like, so this is what we do. It's going to be, we don't hold anything back. You'll have the most incredible 2-day experience. And now you can get tickets for yourself and a loved one at the cheapest price that they will ever be. And you have that till Sunday night. So make sure you grab that immediately by going to satoriprime.com/BOGO, BOGO. And again, if you have any questions, leave them in the comment box. Our coaches will reach out to you, and happy to support and assist you in any way we can. Thank you guys so much for being here. For those that are celebrating Thanksgiving with your loved ones, please be safe. Like, there's still this thing out there, you know, that everyone seems to have forgotten that it's out there. So please be safe. Enjoy your loved ones, enjoy your family, learn a lot about yourself, and let us know how we can help and support you on your spiritual journey.
Hope to see you soon.
Thank you, guys.
Bye, guys. Lots of love. We'll see you next
Bye.
Tuesday.